Good Saturday evening. It is July 15th, 2017. Welcome to this week's weekly weather briefing. And even though, and despite the cold front that came through yesterday evening, we are still looking at some very warm temperatures out there. It's still very humid as well, but not near as hot and humid as it was earlier on in the week. So, thanks to that cold front, temperatures struggled to get to 90 degrees today. We topped out in the mid to upper 80s for most of us, and dew points were in the 60s for the most part. A couple of us did hit the 70-degree mark when it came to the dew point values, but besides that, we're not looking at those dew points really approaching 80 degrees, so we're not looking at too oppressive air, but it is still pretty muggy out there. But after all, it is mid-July, so it's not like we're going to have any very comfortable days until we can at least get towards the end of August. If we look at what the rest of this week has in store, if you like the heat, then it's good news for you. But if you don't, then bad news, because we have an approaching heat wave that is coming towards our region. I tweeted about it a couple of days ago. I saw it coming around 7 days ago or so, and now I'm really starting to key in on it. And once we get towards the middle of mid to late June, I would say mid to late July, I should say, then that's when we really begin to look at that heat wave really starting to press down on our area. Once we go through this weekend, it looks like the rest of the weekend is going to shape up dry. But once we get into Monday morning, a very weak cold front is going to come through our region, and it is going to provide a little bit of lift in the atmosphere. So Monday afternoon, I can't rule out a couple of showers, unorganized showers that would form along that cold front as it drifts off towards the south and east. We do have an upper level trough that is overhead of that, and that is right behind that cold front, helping to keep a lot of basically clouds and maybe some showers in the region. So we're going to have to watch Monday. The temperature forecast will be tricky for Monday as well. Right now, I'm going to say mid to upper 80s. If that sun comes out, then we know just as much as I do that at this time of the year, we will very well go over 90 degrees if that sun does end up coming out. A very weak cold front, so not a lot of cool weather coming in right behind it, and it will still be very muggy behind it as well. It's a weaker cold front than what we had that came through this morning and late last night. Now, once we get into the middle of the week, that high pressure, that ridge of high pressure in this time of the year, that ridge means very hot and dry weather, is going to be coming into our region, and it is really going to really settle down. And once it gets into our region, it's going to stay there for a while. And usually, when you're right under this ridge of high pressure, you don't see a lot of thunderstorm activity during the heat of the day either. So these would be very long, dry, hot days that we're looking at for this week. And then once we get towards the end of the week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday time frame, the heat is really going to be kicking in. You're going to be needing to check up on elderlies, make sure that if you are working outside, that you have plenty of water and are taking plenty of breaks. We'll look at what the temperature forecast is at the end of the video. But just know as of right now, when that ridge of high pressure moves over top of you at this time of the year, you're looking at a lot of hot and dry weather. But once you get towards the ring of fire, so call it, the very edge of that area or ridge of high pressure, that's when we begin to see that shower and thunderstorm activity. So you notice this very big, large chunk of the country, mainly the south and central parts of the United States, that are dry as of this recording and as of this map view, but just areas towards the north, a little bit to the northwest, the west, and even the south and southeast, you're really starting to look at those shower and thunderstorm activity parameters really kick up, as you can tell. But it's this very big chunk of land that is looking at very hot, dry weather because they're right under that ridge of high pressure. Now, once we go in towards the very end of the week, by next weekend, we might see that ridge of high pressure break down a little bit, which means our temperatures should start to cool down as well. The GFS guidance is showing somewhat of a trough dipping into the northeastern parts of the United States, and that might help to filter in some cooler temperatures for our region. But mainly, that trough will be affecting areas to our north and east. Even the 540 thickness line is showing up over here just towards the north of Maine, and we usually don't see that even showing up in parts of southern Canada until once we get towards the middle to end of August. So some signs of cooler weather towards the very end of the week, but cooler at this time of the year typically means around 90 degrees or just lower than that. Now, if we look at the ridge of high pressure and what it looks like on the map, this is basically showing your anomaly of geopotential height in the atmosphere at the 500 millibar level. So the more red you see, that means we're looking at above normal heights, which is meaning ridging and high pressure. So that equals hot and dry weather. If we see the blues, that is equaling a trough or lower than normal heights, which equals stormier and cooler weather. So we'll wait and see what this has in store for us. But overall, any of this blue, like I said, that upper level trough, that will move into the region at the beginning of the week. But even Monday is still shaping up to be fairly hot once we get towards the middle and the end of the week, you begin to see that ridge of high pressure really build into our region, and it will begin to take control of our weather. Looking even further down the road towards the last few days of July, it is still showing a strong placement of ridging across the central United States. So it looks like we're looking at a lot of hot weather in store over the next 2 to 3 weeks, despite this week. So make sure that you are aware of that. It is July, so make sure that you are aware of that because it is July. But we haven't seen heat like this in a while, at least a prolonged period of heat like this in a long time. If we look at what the National Weather Service forecast maps show for this week, we can look at where that cold front is. It's this blue line, the blue triangle line up here. Any L's, these red L's are areas of low pressure. The blue H's are high pressure. And once we see that cold front, remember, here it is. Watch it as we go towards Sunday at noon. You begin to see it approach areas of northern Indiana, northern and central Illinois. Anywhere you see this green, that is showing where they think there will be a chance of showers and thunderstorms. And then once we get in towards Sunday evening, and then early Monday morning, we begin to see that cold front really start to approach our region. And by the time it gets to our area, it's going to really pick up a lot of speed. So once we get towards Monday evening, it's already down towards parts of Memphis and even parts of northern Mississippi and northern Alabama. So it will be a slow-moving cold front at first, but once it gets towards our region, it is expected to speed up. So hopefully that will mean less showers and thunderstorms, but in turn, we really don't want the heat at the same time, and many of us need rain in parts of western Kentucky that missed out on the rain that was with this cold front that came through yesterday. Let's look at those temperatures. Many of you are dreading these maps that I'm about to show you, but once we get towards Monday and Tuesday, we're going to see that heat begin to rebuild after that cold front has moved through and that upper level trough begins to move out of our region. And then once we get towards Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, even Saturday, temperatures above or exceeding 95 degrees. A very hot and dry atmosphere is going to be over top of us as we go towards that time frame. And then once we get towards the very end of the week, that's when I began to say that we will begin to see it maybe a little bit of a reprieve in those hot and heated temperatures, and hopefully we can see that occur. If we look at the rainfall over the next week, it's not much because we are under that ridge of high pressure, at least forecast to. And so with that being said, most areas are going to finish with less than 1/10 of an inch for this week. You can always rule out a spotty shower or two under that ridge of high pressure, but a lot of that thunderstorm activity is held at a standstill. Hopefully, by the time I'm recording next week's weekly weather briefing, I'll have a little bit more rain and cooler weather to talk about. But until then, just make sure and stay hydrated as we get through this first prolonged heat wave of the year.